During the 1990s, the name Konami became synonymous with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles owing to the former's creation of a number of games during the very peak of the latter's popularity. This new Cowabunga Collection brings 13 of these games together, spanning arcade, home console and handheld releases, and is just about to release on the Nintendo Switch. But is it a case of Cowabunga or more
acapella? Huh?
I'm Glen Bolger, thank you to the publishing team for the review code, and now let's find out. So as mentioned, the Cowabunga Collection brings together 13 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games developed by Konami during the late 80s and the 1990s. There are a couple of arcade games, 8 console games and 3 Game Boy games included. We'll have a quick look at each game individually now before looking at some of the newly added features for this particular collection. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a side-scrolling platformer which released for the NES in 1989 and was a huge commercial success, becoming a packing game with the console. Whilst it has been criticised in the years since for its enemies bearing no resemblance to those in the show, the high level of difficulty and its confusing level layout, it was quite ambitious for its time and is a solid if flawed game once you get the hang of it. The second game, also called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and also releasing in 1989, but this time in the arcades, is a fantastic beat 'em up that can be played with up to 4 players. As with all games on here, it took its inspiration from the 1987 animated show, and the attract mode emulated the beginning of the animated show's opening credits, complete with that classic theme song. TMNT 2, the arcade game, was the second Turtles game to release on the NES, ditching the platforming of the first game for a port of 1989's arcade game. It came out in 1990 and plays very well, to be fair. Some concessions were made as you would expect, it's now a 2-player experience rather than 4, but 2 new levels were added to make up for it. Fall of the Foot Clan is the first of the Game Boy game releases on this collection and also released in 1990. This returns to a platforming style, albeit a far more traditional one, with you having to fight your way through 5 stages to rescue April from Shredder and Krang. Next, one of the highlights of the package, releasing in 1991, was TMNT Turtles in Time. This is the second and final arcade game and took everything the original did well and refined it further, leading to an incredibly enjoyable beat 'em up which again supports up to 4 players. The Turtles hurtle through time chasing Shredder, which leads to good variety in the level settings, and the music is top notch throughout, including Pizza Power playing during the attract mode, which was taken from 1990's Coming Out of Their Shells live musical tour. TMNT 2 Back from the Sewers is the second Game Boy offering and is fairly similar to the first game in many respects. This one upped the size of the character sprites, which whilst allowing for a higher level of detail, also restricted the animation, making characters move in quite a stilted manner. This was one of the first games I ever got for my Game Boy alongside Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, and whilst perfectly playable, this alongside the previous Game Boy game are arguably the weakest games on this collection. TMNT 3 The Manhattan Project was another NES release and is another beat 'em up, albeit this time an original offering and not based on an arcade game. Again, it offers up to 2 players and the mechanics are similar to the other beat 'em ups in that each turtle will have specific strengths and weaknesses. Interestingly, despite the box art featuring a Triceraton, one of the antagonists from the comics, no such enemy appears in the game. Another one of the best games on here in my opinion is TMNT 4 Turtles in Time. This is the Super Nintendo port of the arcade game and pushed the home console to its limits. Its smooth gameplay saw it match the arcade version in many ways despite only supporting 2 players, plus the introduction of a new Technodrome level and a couple of tweaks to the boss roster has some postulate that it is in fact the superior version. I've never been able to pick a favourite, but the differences make having both included feel very worthwhile. The Hyperstone Heist is the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis answer to Turtles in Time and released in 1992. It uses the same music and character sprites for the most part, and it is a very good beat 'em up in its own right. It does have fewer stages, although they are a bit longer, and I feel it plays slightly slower than Turtles in Time, and it does have a less vibrant colour palette, which is neither a positive or a negative, it's just a difference between the 2 versions. TMNT 3 Radical Rescue is the third and final Game Boy game on this collection and is arguably the most unique game included. It almost plays like a Metroidvania, with each of the 4 turtles possessing a unique ability that is crucial to making progress through the game, and you start with Michelangelo and need to rescue your brothers as you go along. The final 3 games are all ports of the same game, so I will include them all together, with that game being TMNT Tournament Fighters. This is a one-on-one fighting game, and you have the Super Nintendo version, which is very similar in style to Street Fighter 2. It takes advantage of the system's 4-button controller to have both weak and strong punches and kicks. It has 10 playable characters and 2 boss characters that can be unlocked. The Sega Mega Drive, or again Genesis version, has just standard punch and kick attacks and features 8 playable characters, but with quite a different roster from the Super Nintendo version, apart from of course the 4 turtles. In my opinion, this is quite a bit weaker than the Super Nintendo version. It feels very difficult to get any sort of grip on, but it does have its fans, and again, the differences between the versions make its inclusion worthwhile. And finally, the NES version is included, which was the final Konami game released for the platform in 1994, and as with the 2 16-bit versions, includes a single player story mode or 2-player versus mode. In terms of the lineup, I like the fact they haven't just focused on the beat-em-ups from the franchise, even if they are the strongest games in my opinion, and they have also included some potentially lesser known games. Yes, there is some duplication in terms of the titles included, but most of the time each of these games differ from each other enough to justify their existence past just being an interesting piece of history. Let's look at the added quality of life features, and there are a healthy number included, which really does help to make this collection feel all the more impressive. Each game includes save states and a rewind feature, which is activated by holding down L, and there are also a set of enhancements available for each game. This could include a God mode for the arcade beat-em-ups, which makes you practically invincible, unlocking the boss characters for the fighters, infinite lives or a level select for some of the Game Boy games, or turning off sprite flicker and slowdown for the NES games, which is a brilliant feature. On top of all of this, there's the added bonus of online play having been included, although as far as I can see, only to 4 games, which is a little disappointing. Also, I couldn't try the online mode out, owing to this being a pre-launch copy. Any of the games which received a Japanese release back in the day, which is 11 of the 13 games, also have that Japanese version included, which again is a great touch. The Cowabunga Collection offers a good mix of genres, 13 games ranging from outstanding to decent, and some great quality of life features. For this, gameplay gets 18 out of 20. Controls range from game to game, they all do what they need to do, albeit some better than others, although it must be said that playing a local multiplayer game for the 2 arcade offerings does feel a bit more convoluted than it needs to be. On balance though, they receive 17 out of 20. In terms of the visuals, due to you having a mix of arcade games, 8 and 16-bit home console versions, and monochrome handheld games, the art styles do vary quite wildly, despite all having the use of pixel art in common. Bar perhaps the first NES game, which I believe had a development team unfamiliar with the source material, the rest all do a very good job of capturing the look and feel of the 1987 animated show, the main source of inspiration, and even the Game Boy games do a good job of omitting the characteristics of the turtles themselves. Aside from these handheld games, the rest have a vibrancy about them that really does sell you on the world, and the thick chunky sprites do these classic characters justice. There is the option to view the screen in its correct ratio, go full screen or stretch to widescreen for each game too. Aside from the graphics themselves, there are a number of visual related extras available via the Turtles layer option. Here you can see high quality scans of the box art and manuals from all of the console games, concept art and designs, front and back cover prints from the various comic book runs, strategy guides for a number of the games, filled with hints, tips and maps of the levels, and even screenshots of each series of each respected animated incarnation of the show from over the years. This is where my one minor gripe comes into play, as I feel they really could have pushed the boat out here and included proper synopses of each series, highlighting key episodes, plot points, first appearances of certain characters, etc. It would have been interesting to read of the changes as each new iteration reached its end, and they could have even included each series theme song and intro, rather than the few static screenshots of each series that they do show. Nitpicking perhaps, but they have done such a good job here that they almost achieved perfection with this gallery mode, and it's a shame that it falls short by just the breadth of Baxter Stockman's wing. In terms of audio, again, most of the games attempt to get the feeling of the show across, either by explicitly attempting to replicate the theme song or by having upbeat music that lends itself to the on-screen action. The sound bites are a little muffled by today's standard, but the shout of Shell Shock and Cowabunga in the arcade games are an iconic part of the package, and it is quite impressive just how many of the games do include some sort of speech, even if it's just 1 or 2 words. Again, another part of the Turtles layer option is dedicated to the music, with you being able to choose any track from any game and listen to it uninterrupted. Very impressive stuff indeed. Visuals bring the 1990s kicking and screaming to a new audience, and a proper gallery mode that treats its source material with respect is included, a rare thing these days in such a compilation. They get 18 out of 20. Audio holds up incredibly well, some muffled sound bites aside, and also gets 18 out of 20. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Cowabunga Collection costs £34.99 and regional equivalents are on your screen now. For this price you are getting 13 games of course, as well as Japanese versions for 11 of them, complete with quality of life features, added online play in some cases, and a very extensive and well produced gallery mode. Had they included the second era of Konami Turtles games, the free 3D beat-em-ups and fighting game from the 6th generation of consoles and the GBA games, then this would truly have been an outstanding collection, but perhaps they are saving that second wave for a Cowabunga Collection Part 2. Whilst the amount of content in the gallery mode is certainly there, a little more focus on giving context to the significance of certain aspects would have made it impossible to give this anything but the full 20 for value, but without this, it still gets a very impressive 19 out of 20. To conclude, the Cowabunga Collection is not only a fantastically nostalgic trip down memory lane for gamers of a certain age, but it will also offer hours of entertainment to more recent fans of the Turtles who want to know what the fuss is all about in regards to Konami's initial run with this franchise. Aside from it being a great collection of games, the quality of life features really do enhance the package, and although the limited use of online is a slight disappointment, it is at least present for the 2 arcade games, probably the most important of the lot when it comes to that online. It also includes some great extras which pay the series the respect it deserves. Fantastic stuff all round, Cowabunga indeed. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Cowabunga Collection gets a SwitchUp score of 90%. Thank you everybody for watching, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. Please do let me know which of these games is your favourite, stick it all in the comment section below. And don't forget, if you are looking for eShop credit to pick this game up, or any other game for that matter, you can use our website to get your eShop cards. There is currently 10% off if you use the code SwitchUp. There's also a Play Asia link down there if you want to get yourself any imports. Use the link and use the code stated and you can get yourself 5% off of an order. A quick thank you to our patrons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.